You've been sold a lie, that silence is powerful, that pulling back, disappearing, and going quiet will make them miss you and realize what they lost. You think they're sitting there tormented, wondering where you went, consumed by guilt or regret. They're not. You know why? Because they know why you're silent. When someone understands your silence, it loses its power. It's not a mystery. It's predictable. It's exactly what they expected you to do. Your silence isn't confusing them, it's reassuring them. They aren't sitting there wondering what happened. They already know. They've played this game before. You think you're playing chess, but they've already memorized every move you'll make. Silence only works when it's backed by truth. When you stay silent out of pain, fear, or hope that they'll notice, that's not power, that's poison. It slowly kills you from the inside while they live free, untouched, and unaffected. But here's the truth you don't want to face. They don't care why you're silent. They only care that you still care enough to play this game at all. You think you're punishing them, but you're only punishing yourself. They're not confused. They're comfortable. They've lived this scene too many times. They know exactly how long you'll stay silent before you break. And trust me, they're waiting. But what if this time you didn't break? What if you stopped using silence as a weapon and started using something they can't ignore, your truth? Not some emotional outburst or dramatic speech, but the cold, unapologetic truth that you don't care anymore. The truth that their power is gone. Silence without truth is weakness, but truth is untouchable. When you own your truth, you stop playing their game. You become unpredictable. They can't manipulate what they can't read. You might be thinking, what if they come back when I finally speak my truth? Good, let them try, because by then you'll be someone they can't play with anymore. They'll attempt to use the same tricks, the same lies, but you'll see through every move. They won't know how to react when you stop being silent and start being real. So stop waiting for them to miss you. Stop sitting there, trapped in their version of the story. Stop making them the center of a world they abandoned long ago. Say this out loud: I will live my truth. Write it in the comments. Declare it. Own it. Let them wonder what happened when the person they thought they could control finally spoke the truth. And while you're at it, hit that like button and subscribe, because what's coming next will open your eyes in a way you never expected. Number 1. Your silence is their throne. Have you ever seen a king sitting on a throne, sitting high, untouchable, above it all? A throne isn't just a chair. It's a symbol of power and control. And here's the brutal truth you don't want to face. Your silence is the throne they're sitting on. Every second you stay quiet, every time you pull back, every time you think, this will make them miss me, you're building their throne higher. They're ruling over your mind, your emotions, your life, while you remain stuck in your head, playing out imaginary conversations where you win, where they finally realize your worth while they're up there, unbothered. You think your silence is a punishment, but it's not. It's their reward. They've got exactly what they want: your attention, your obsession, your suffering. And here's the part that really stings. They knew you'd go silent. They counted on it. They've seen this play out before. To them, you're predictable. Your silence is just another move on the game board they've mastered. You think you're sending a message, but they already know what your silence means. It means you're still thinking about them, still waiting, still hoping. They know you haven't moved on, because if you had, you wouldn't be silent. You'd be gone. You're building them a kingdom made out of your unspoken words, a fortress made out of your doubts. Every second you sit there wondering if they'll notice your silence, they win. They know they still live rent-free in your head while you're paying the emotional price every single day. You've convinced yourself that your silence is mysterious, that it's making them feel your absence. But the truth is, they're not feeling anything. They're sitting on the throne you built, comfortable, smug, untouchable. They're not losing sleep over you. They're not wondering why you're silent. They know. They know you're still waiting for them to reach out, still watching from the shadows, still hoping for a moment of regret that will never come. You're playing a game that's rigged against you. They're ruling while you're reeling. They've turned your silence into their power, because silence only works when the other person cares, and let's be real, they don't. If they did, you wouldn't be in this situation in the first place. People who care don't leave you sitting in silence, wondering. People who value you don't turn your absence into background noise. But here you are, still waiting. Maybe they'll notice. Maybe they'll miss me. Maybe they'll come back. They won't, because your silence is their comfort. It's like free oxygen. You're giving them space to breathe while you suffocate on everything you wish you could say. The longer you stay quiet, the higher their throne gets. They sit there, untouched by your pain, watching you fall deeper and deeper into your own mind. And the worst part, they know you're still attached. They know your silence is temporary. They're waiting for you to break because you always do. They've seen you do it before. They know you'll reach out. They know you'll explain yourself. They know you'll come back. They've seen this movie 1,000 times. They've directed it. But here's what they're not prepared for. What if you didn't? What if you stopped using silence as a weapon and started using your truth as a final act? What if, instead of staying quiet, you disappeared completely? Not as a tactic, but as a choice. No more imaginary conversations, no more waiting, no more silence. They can interpret your absence as gone, not because you're playing hard to get, but because you've finally woken up. You've burned the throne down and left nothing for them to sit on. There's a quote that says they never loved you. They loved the way you kept coming back. Let that sink in. They don't deserve your silence. They deserve nothing. They deserve your truth, the truth that you're done, that they don't matter anymore, that you've closed the book and moved on. Stop building thrones for people who treated you like an option. Stop handing them power by staying quiet. Stop giving them control by playing a game you were never meant to win. You are done being silent, done waiting, done hoping. Say this out loud. I own my truth. Write it in the comments. Declare it. Claim your freedom. Leave them sitting on nothing while you rise above it all. Number 2, silence isn't a punishment. It's a gift. You think your silence is a punishment. You think pulling away, going radio silent, disappearing into the shadows will make them suffer. You imagine them lying awake at night, haunted by memories, consumed by regret, missing you. You believe your silence is some kind of curse you cast on them, something that will make them realize what they've lost. They're not suffering, they're relieved. Your silence isn't punishing them, it's freeing them. It's permission to forget you, freedom to move on without guilt. While you sit there, stewing in your emotions, counting the days, replaying every conversation, they're out there living, unbothered, untouched, unaffected. Your silence is not hurting them, it's helping them. They don't have to face the consequences of what they did. They don't have to deal with your anger, your hurt, your questions. They get to walk away clean. You thought cutting them off would make them feel the same emptiness you do. But the truth is, they don't feel it. They don't miss you because they've never missed anyone. People like them don't miss what they don't value. You think you've left a void in their life, but you haven't. You were just one of many stops along their journey of using, manipulating, and discarding. They've already moved on while you're still sitting there, believing your silence is some powerful move. But here's the thing. They know why you're silent. They've been here before. They've seen this before. To them, your silence is predictable. It means you're still attached, still waiting for them to reach out, still hoping they'll notice. They interpret your silence as loyalty. They assume you're still sitting there, thinking about them, missing them, waiting for that text or call that will never come. That's the real game. Your silence is comfort to them, not punishment. It's convenient. They don't have to deal with your emotions, your questions, or your heartbreak. You've already taken yourself out of the equation. And here's the twisted truth. They count on it. They know you're silent because you still care. They know you're pulling away but not letting go. They've seen it before. You'll be silent until you can't take it anymore. Then you'll break. You'll reach out. You'll come back, trying to explain yourself, hoping they'll see how much you cared. And when you finally break that silence, they'll act like nothing ever happened, like you were the one who was distant, like you were the one who left. They'll twist the story in their favor, and you'll let them because you've done it before. They know how this game ends because they've played it too many times. You think they're the ones suffering? No, you are. You're trapped in the silence you created while they've moved on without looking back. They're not haunted by your absence. They're empowered by it. They know you're still there, still waiting, still hoping. And here's where it gets real. You gave them the gift of escape. Your silence set them free. You removed yourself from their life while keeping them in yours. You locked yourself in a mental prison while they're out there living, laughing, forgetting. You're carrying the emotional weight alone, but it doesn't have to be this way. What if, instead of using silence as a punishment, you used truth as a weapon? What if, instead of going quiet, you became impossible to ignore, not by chasing them, not by begging them to care, but by taking back your power? You want real silence. Cut them off, not as a tactic, but as a choice. Disappear completely, not to hurt them, but to heal yourself. Stop playing the game they've mastered and change the rules. Tell yourself the truth. They're not missing you. They're not thinking about you. They're not coming back. But you? You're still here, stuck in silence that was never meant to heal you. The only way to win is to stop playing. Speak your truth, not to them, but to yourself. Say it out loud. They don't care. They never did. And that's okay, because I care about myself now. Let your silence become your peace, not their comfort. Stop giving them a gift they never deserved. Stop staying quiet for their sake. Your silence isn't punishment when they feel nothing. It only punishes you. Say this out loud. I won't be silent for someone who doesn't care. Write it in the comments. Claim it. Own it. End the game. Let them wonder why you're truly gone, and this time, don't come back. Number 3. Silence keeps you in the game. You think your silence is an exit. You believe pulling away, going silent, disappearing into the background somehow means you've left. But the harsh truth is, you haven't gone anywhere. You're still in the game. Silence isn't freedom when you're still thinking about them. It's not letting go when you're still waiting for them to notice. You've convinced yourself that staying silent is power, that it's making them feel your absence. But the only thing your silence has done is keep you trapped, because while you're sitting there counting the days, checking your phone, wondering if they care, they're out there living, laughing, forgetting. They've moved on, or worse, they're playing the same toxic game with someone new while you're still stuck. Your silence didn't make you invisible, it made you a player. They know you're still there, still emotionally invested, still watching. They might not hear your voice, but they can feel your presence lingering. And the longer you stay silent while still holding on, the more you keep yourself in their world. You've become like a ghost haunting its past, silent, unseen, but still attached. They're not haunted by your absence. You are. You're haunted by the memories you can't seem to let go of, the conversations that never happened, the closure that will never come. And that's the real trap of silence. It tricks you into thinking you've moved on while keeping you right where they left you. You're still in the same emotional prison, reliving the same stories, playing out scenarios that don't exist anymore. You think you're done. No, you're still in the game because you're still waiting for a text, a call, an apology, something that will magically fix what they broke. But here's the truth. They're not coming back. And if they do, it won't be because they miss you. It'll be because they miss the control. They'll come back when they need a boost, when their ego needs stroking, when their new situation falls apart, when they need someone familiar to play with. And if you're still there, silent but waiting, they'll know they can still pull you back in, because silence isn't cutting them off. It's pausing the game. It's leaving the door half open, hoping they'll walk through it when you should have slammed it shut. Silence only works when you've actually left, not when you're still sitting there hoping they'll notice, not when you're still checking to see if they care, not when your silence comes from closure you gave yourself. But if your silence is just another move in their twisted game, you're still playing. It's like being in a burning building, telling yourself you're safe because you've closed your eyes. You think you've escaped because you're standing still, but you're still inside. The flames will consume you whether you make a sound or not. You think you're punishing them by disappearing, but they're not looking for you. You think you're being mysterious, but they know exactly where you are, stuck in the past, still thinking about them, still playing the game, just silently. You need to wake up. They're not coming back out of love or regret. If they return, it's because they know you'll still be there. They know they've kept you in emotional limbo. They've left just enough breadcrumbs to make sure you'll never fully leave. So what are you really waiting for? An apology? A confession? An explanation? You won't get it. They've moved on while you're still paused, stuck in this emotional loop that's keeping you from moving forward. You want to win? You want to finally break free? Then leave the game, not silently, not dramatically, but completely. Stop holding on. Stop playing. Stop using silence as a weapon that only hurts you. Silence isn't freedom until it comes from a place of indifference, until you've stopped caring whether they notice or not, until you stop waiting for anything from them. Let them wonder what happened when the person they thought they could manipulate finally left the game. No announcements, no warnings, no explanations, just gone. You want to win? Then stop playing. Say this out loud. I'm done playing their game. Write it in the comments, declare it, claim it. Walk away silently but completely, because true silence isn't about what they hear. It's about what they can never control again. Number 4, the power of speaking your truth. You've been quiet for too long, swallowed your words, bit your tongue, held back everything you wanted to say, believing that silence was your power. But let's get one thing straight. Silence is not power when it's fueled by fear. You think staying quiet keeps the peace, that it avoids conflict, that it shows you're strong. But the truth is, your silence doesn't protect you. It doesn't shield you. It doesn't keep you safe. It traps you. It locks you in a cage of unspoken pain, unresolved emotions, and unanswered questions. You think staying silent makes you the bigger person, but in reality, it's killing you from the inside. Every word you don't say becomes a weight on your chest. Every feeling you bury becomes a scar you'll carry long after they're gone. You've been sold the lie that silence is noble, that keeping the peace is better than speaking your mind. But let me tell you something. Truth is messy. It's uncomfortable. It shakes the ground and sets everything on fire. But it's the only way you'll ever be free. Silence may avoid conflict, but truth ends it. The people who hurt you count on your silence. They count on your inability to speak up, to stand up, to fight back. They thrive in the shadows of what you don't say. Every word you hold in is another weapon they use to control you. But what if you spoke? What if, instead of staying silent, you finally said what needed to be said? What if you spoke with clarity, with strength, with unapologetic truth? What if you let them hear everything they've been avoiding? Because here's the reality: they're not afraid of your silence, they're afraid of your truth. Silence they can handle. They've mastered silence. They can twist, interpret, and use it against you. But truth is their kryptonite. Truth is the one thing they can't manipulate. There's a quote that says, "The truth will set you free, but first, it will shatter the lies you've lived with." And that's exactly what needs to happen. You've been living with lies for too long. The lie that they didn't mean to hurt you. The lie that they'll change if you're patient enough. The lie that your silence will make them miss you. It won't. They're not going to wake up one day and regret what they did just because you went silent. People like them don't lose sleep over the feelings of others. They lose sleep when they lose control. That's why speaking your truth is so powerful. When you speak, you take back the narrative. You take back the power they've had over your emotions, your mind, your life. Speaking your truth doesn't mean you owe them an explanation. It doesn't mean you have to fight or argue. It simply means you stop hiding. You stop pretending everything is fine. You stop giving them the satisfaction of your silence. Because when you speak your truth, something incredible happens. You free yourself. You stop waiting for closure because you've given it to yourself. You stop hoping they'll understand because you no longer need them to. You stop carrying the weight of what you couldn't say because you've finally said it. And let me be clear, speaking your truth isn't about them. It's not about revenge or making them feel guilty. It's about you. It's about reclaiming your voice, your worth, your identity. There's a story I read once on a forum. A man wrote about how he stayed silent for years in his toxic marriage, thinking that if he just stayed quiet, things would improve. He avoided conflict, buried his feelings, and kept everything inside. But the more he stayed silent, the more his wife took advantage of him. One day he finally snapped. He sat her down and told her everything, how he felt, what he wanted, what he could no longer tolerate. You know what happened? She didn't change. She didn't apologize. She didn't suddenly become the person he needed her to be. But something did change. Him. He said speaking his truth was the most liberating thing he'd ever done. For the first time, he wasn't hiding. He wasn't pretending. He wasn't afraid. He ended the marriage not because he hated her, but because he finally loved himself enough to walk away. That's the power of truth. It doesn't guarantee you'll get the outcome you want, but it guarantees you'll get peace. When you speak your truth, you take back the power they thought they'd keep forever. You show them that your silence wasn't weakness. It was a pause, and now you're done pausing. So stop holding back. Stop swallowing your words. Stop carrying the weight of what you've been too afraid to say. Speak your truth, not for them, but for yourself. Because the moment you do, you stop being their victim. You stop being their puppet. You stop being the person they thought they could manipulate. Say this out loud. I will speak my truth. Write it in the comments. Declare it. Claim it. Let them wonder what happens when the person they thought they silenced finally speaks. Because when you do, their power crumbles and you rise unapologetically every single time. Number 5. Burn the bridge with words they can't forget. You've been told to burn the bridge and move on. Walk away quietly. No drama, no words, just disappear. But no, that's not enough. Some bridges don't deserve to be burned quietly. Some people deserve to feel the fire. They need to see what happens when the person they took for granted finally speaks the truth. You've stayed silent long enough. You've let them control the narrative, rewrite the past, and walk away unscathed. They left you to carry the weight of every lie, every betrayal, alone. They made sure you felt small, forgotten, replaceable. But not this time. This time, you burn the bridge with words they'll never forget. You leave them with the truth they tried to ignore, the reality they thought they'd never have to face, not out of revenge, but out of freedom. Because speaking your truth isn't about hurting them. It's about reclaiming yourself. It's about leaving nothing unsaid. Imagine this. You're standing on that bridge, the one they built with lies and broken promises, the one they crossed every time they needed you, only to abandon you again and again. You've been waiting on that bridge, hoping they'd come back with apologies, explanations, something. But they never did, and now you're done with waiting. Light the match. Tell them everything you kept inside, every time they made you feel like you didn't matter, every lie they told while looking you dead in the eye, every moment they played victim while you drowned in the pain they caused. They thought they'd walk away without consequences. They thought you'd stay quiet, obedient, predictable. But here's the truth. They'll never forget. You were never weak. You were just waiting until you were strong enough to finally say what needed to be said. Burn the bridge with clarity, not with anger. Be sharp, not reckless. Make sure your words hit so hard they feel them long after you're gone. They want to believe they were everything to you, someone you could never live without. Prove them wrong. Show them you're not the same person who begged for their attention. Show them you've outgrown the games, the lies, and the empty promises. Tell them, you didn't break me, you set me free. You're not the one I miss. You're the lesson I'll never forget. You were never my home. You were the storm I survived. Let them feel the impact of words they can't twist, manipulate, or explain away. Let them sit with the truth they tried to run from. You don't need closure from them. You are the closure. There's a story I read once about a woman who stayed silent in her toxic relationship for years, thinking silence was the mature thing to do. She let him leave without ever calling out the lies, without ever speaking her truth. But one day she couldn't take it anymore. She wrote him a letter, not to get him back, not to hurt him, but to release herself. She laid out everything she'd kept inside. All the times she forgave him, all the chances she gave, all the nights she cried while he slept just fine. She ended the letter with this: I loved you enough to stay quiet. Now I love myself enough to speak. She never sent the letter, but she didn't need to. It wasn't about him. It was about her. She said everything she needed to say and walked away with no regrets. That's what burning the bridge with words looks like. It's not about revenge. It's about releasing what you've carried for too long. It's about leaving nothing unsaid so you can finally move on. Stop holding back because you're afraid of how they'll react. They don't matter anymore. Their opinion is irrelevant. This isn't about making them feel bad. It's about making yourself feel free. Speak clearly, speak truthfully, and when you're done, walk away. Let them sit with the reality you've delivered while you rise higher than they ever imagined. Say this out loud: I owe them nothing, but I owe myself everything. Write it in the comments, claim it, declare it. Let them wonder what happened to the person they thought they could break, because that person doesn't exist anymore. You've burned the bridge, and this time, you're not looking back. Number 6, their apology is a trap, not closure. You've been waiting, haven't you, for that one thing that's supposed to fix everything, their apology. You've built entire conversations in your head, imagining them coming back, admitting they were wrong, saying the words that would finally make the pain stop. But let me hit you with reality. Their apology isn't closure, it's a trap. You think hearing "I'm sorry" will bring peace, but it won't. It will bring chaos. Because when someone like them apologizes, it's not about healing you, it's about controlling you. They apologize when you're slipping away, when they feel their grip on you loosening, when they sense that you're finally waking up to the game they've been playing. Their apology isn't regret, it's strategy. You see, people like them don't care about making things right. They care about not losing access to you. When you distance yourself, when you start pulling away, when your silence becomes real, that's when they come crawling back, armed with just enough fake sincerity to keep you from leaving for good. They'll say exactly what you've been waiting to hear, not because they mean it, but because they know it works. They've done this before. Apologize just enough to reset the game. Give just enough to make you question everything again. I'm sorry, I didn't know I hurt you. I miss you. Can we just talk? I've changed. You're the only one I care about. Sound familiar? It should, because it's scripted. They've rehearsed these lines 100 times. They know the exact moment to play this card, when they feel you getting stronger, when they see you moving on, when they sense you've had enough. Their apology is bait. You think you're getting closure, but you're just getting reeled back in like a fish caught on a hook, struggling, fighting, but still trapped. They know you've been starving for an explanation, for validation, for something that will make the past make sense, and they serve it up just when you're about to let go. But here's the hard truth. Closure doesn't come from them. It never has, and it never will. Closure comes from you, from finally seeing the truth that their apology was never about fixing what they broke. It was about keeping control. You want proof? Think about the last time they apologized. Did they change? Did their behavior improve? Did they finally become the person you needed them to be? Or did they slip back into the same toxic cycle once they knew they had you hooked again? Their apologies are band-aids over bullet wounds. They cover the damage just long enough for you to stop seeing the bleeding. But underneath, nothing ever healed. They'll say whatever it takes to keep their place in your life. They'll cry, beg, even play the victim just to keep you emotionally trapped. It's not remorse, it's manipulation. Here's what they'll never admit. They don't fear losing you. They fear losing control over you. When you're gone, truly gone, they lose their emotional supply, the attention, the forgiveness, the comfort. And that's why they come back. Their apology isn't about you healing, it's about them winning. But what if this time it's real? I know what you're thinking. What if this time they've finally changed? Listen carefully. People don't change when they lose you temporarily. They change when they face consequences, when they're held accountable, not forgiven. Every time they cry, you can't heal while waiting for someone else to fix you. You can't grow while holding your breath for someone else's redemption arc. Their apology isn't your permission to heal. You don't need their words to move forward. You think you're getting closure from them, but what you're really doing is reopening the wound, and you know it. Deep down, you've always known. You've been here before, heard the same words, felt the same hope, only to end up hurt all over again. You've walked through this emotional graveyard too many times, hoping for a different ending, only to realize nothing changes when the apology is a lie. Closure isn't something they give you, it's something you create. It's what happens when you finally stop expecting them to be different, when you stop waiting for the apology that matters and start living like you don't need it, because you don't. Stop waiting for them to say, "I'm sorry." Stop expecting them to fix what they've never cared about. Stop holding your breath for words that won't change a thing. You don't need their apology. You need your own permission to move forward. You need to release yourself from the grip they've had on your heart and close the chapter on your terms. Say this out loud. I don't need their apology to heal. Write it in the comments. Declare it. Claim it. Let them wonder why their words stopped working because you finally stopped listening. Number 7. Your comeback is the only revenge they can't handle. They thought they broke you. They thought you'd stay down, silent, shattered, defeated. They were so sure you'd never rise again, because that's what people like them count on. They count on their damage being permanent. They count on you staying stuck, haunted by memories, drowning in pain, lost in the world they burned down around you. But here's the truth they were never prepared for. You were built for comebacks. They expected you to be a cautionary tale, a story about someone who got used, discarded, and forgotten. They never expected you to become the hero of your own story. They thought their betrayal, their lies, their absence would leave you ruined. They never imagined that the same pain they caused would become the fuel that ignites your greatest transformation. They underestimated you because you're not just a survivor. You're a warrior, and nothing terrifies them more than seeing the person they tried to destroy rise from the ashes, stronger, wiser, and completely out of reach. You see, people like them can handle anger, they can handle bitterness, they can even handle your silence. But what they can't handle is your comeback. They can't handle seeing you thrive without them. They can't handle knowing they no longer have any power over your emotions, your mind, your life. Because your success is their failure. Every time you laugh, every time you achieve, every time you rise, you prove them wrong. You prove that their best attempt at breaking you wasn't enough. Let me tell you something. Nothing hits harder than indifference. When you stop caring, when you stop looking back, when you stop seeking closure or validation, you become unstoppable. The moment they realize you're not just surviving, you're thriving, that's when they lose. You were supposed to crumble. You were supposed to be the one begging for answers, waiting for apologies, stuck in the past. But now you're beyond their reach. You've outgrown the story they wrote for you. They thought they were the final chapter, but you rewrote the ending. There's a quote that says some people will try to burn you, destroy you, and bury you, but they forget that you are a seed. Let that sink in. They buried you because they thought you were done. They didn't realize you were planting yourself. They didn't see the growth happening in the darkness. They didn't expect you to break through the ground with unstoppable force. And when you rise, rise loud. Rise unapologetically. Rise like they never existed. They can handle being hated. They can handle being cursed out, blocked, ignored. But your success, your glow, your happiness, that's the one thing they can't handle. People like them live for control. They thrive on knowing they left a mark on you. They want to believe you'll never be the same without them. They want to believe they left permanent scars, but scars don't mean defeat, they mean survival. And when you rise with those scars showing, when you become everything they thought you'd never be, that's when you win. They'll hear about your success, they'll see your glow, they'll watch from a distance as you become someone they can't reach. And that's when it hits them. They lost. Not because you fought back, but because you stopped fighting for someone who was never worth it. Because you moved on. Because you rose without them. And I know what you're thinking. But what if they come back when they see me thriving? Good. Let them try. By then they won't recognize the person you've become. You won't be the same soft-hearted version of yourself they thought they could manipulate. You'll be untouchable. They'll try to use the same tricks, the same apologies, the same fake sincerity. But it won't work because you've outgrown the game. You're no longer the one waiting for them to change. You're no longer the one hoping they'll see your worth. You've become someone they can't have, can't play, can't reach. They burned the bridge, thinking you'd be stuck on the other side. But you built a new path, a life without them. Remember this, the greatest revenge isn't anger. It's becoming someone they can't touch. Every success, every moment of happiness, every step forward, it all adds up. They'll feel the absence of your pain, your longing, your attention, and they'll realize you didn't just move on, you rose above. And when they come back, because they always do, they won't find the person they left behind. They'll find someone stronger, wiser, and completely out of reach. Say this out loud. I rise beyond their reach. Write it in the comments. Declare it. Claim it. Let them wonder what happened to the person they thought they could break, because that person doesn't exist anymore. Rise and never look back. So folks, you've heard the truth now. No sugarcoating, no excuses, no apologies. You've been played, manipulated, discarded. But that's not where your story ends. You are not their victim. You are not their unfinished chapter. You are not their second chance. They thought they could break you. They thought you'd stay silent, weak, forgotten. But now you know better. You've seen through the lies, the manipulation, the mind games. You've woken up. You don't need their apology. You don't need closure. You don't need them. The only thing you've ever needed was yourself. Let them wonder what happened. Let them feel the absence of your attention. Let them face the reality they created while you rise higher than they ever imagined. You're done explaining, done chasing, done waiting. This time, you end the game. No more silent suffering, no more waiting for words that will never come. Say this out loud: I am unstoppable. Write it in the comments, declare it, claim it. Let them wonder what happened to the person they thought they could control. And if this hit you where it needed to hit that like button. Share this message with someone who needs this wake-up call, someone still stuck in the cycle, someone still waiting. Subscribe so you never forget who you truly are. Keep rising, keep growing, and keep becoming untouchable. Your story isn't over, it's just getting started. Let's rise.